Iran went all in and delivered an unexpected blow to the United States of America. And now the blockade of the Hormuz Strait is reaching a new, even more dangerous level. Iran has targeted the underwater internet cables beneath the Hormuz Strait. And this is potentially not a blow against oil. This is a blow to the planet's digital infrastructure and to transactions worth trillions of dollars. But that's just the beginning. So let's break down what this means. Because most people apparently don't even know that there are crucial cables for the global economy lying under the Strait of Hormuz. But these aren't just internet cables, it's something more. So let's figure it out. My name is Alexei Pecci. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this episode. And write your comment under this video, either now or at the end of the episode, because it's very important for promoting content on YouTube. I would be grateful to you for that. And besides that, subscribe to my Telegram channel Pecci News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, the Iranian military press secretary Ebrahim Zalfagari stated directly today, and I quote, "We will introduce fees for internet cables." After this statement, Iranian media associated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps published a specific plan that they will collect money just for the cables lying on the bottom of the Hormuz Strait, which, I remind you, does not belong to Iran. As a result, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stated that they will demand companies like Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and so on to pay for using the underwater cables under the Hormuz Strait. Tehran wants companies to obtain Iranian licenses and pay what they called protection fees for maintaining infrastructure on the seabed. However, I want to emphasize again that Iran did not lay these cables, has never maintained them, and has no sovereignty over them, just like it has no sovereignty over the Hormuz Strait. As a result, Tehran announced that Iranian lawmakers are already discussing a plan that could target the undersea cables connecting Arab countries with Europe and Asia. Now, why is this so important? Most people, well, maybe they think, that the internet is the cloud, it's satellites and so on. In reality, no matter how advanced we become, the physical foundation of the internet is more than 500 undersea cables that carry over 95% of international internet traffic. Yes, 95% of internet traffic is still transmitted through cables. Several major intercontinental cables pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Due to long-standing risks involving Iran, international operators have deliberately avoided Iranian waters, concentrating most cables in a narrow strip along the Omani side of the strait. It would seem that everything is safe, but there are two cables, the most important cables used for financial transactions, that still pass through Iranian territorial waters. These are mainly in the direct line of fire. But overall, 7 major global cables pass through the Strait of Hormuz. They connect the digital economies of Europe, Asia, and the countries of the Persian Gulf. Every day, just think about it, $10 trillion in financial transactions pass through them. Every single day. Imagine if everything stopped for just one day. And so, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps made a specific demand. Foreign operators must obtain Iranian permits and pay protection fees for maintaining infrastructure on the seabed, as well as exclusive Iranian control over all maintenance and repair operations in this area. If they don't pay, Iran is ready to cut all these cables. What will happen if the cables are damaged? This will immediately affect ordinary people all across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Streaming services will stop working. Messaging apps will slow down or stop working altogether. Video calls will be interrupted. Online banking and card payments may also be disrupted. Cloud services from email to work tools will clearly degrade. In general, these are real problems that absolutely everyone will feel. But that's not all. The fact is, the armed forces also rely on secure long-distance communications and real-time coordination. That's it. From the command system to operations. Drone operations and logistics planning depend on those very same undersea cables. Damage to these networks will make the forces less effective, complicate coordination with allies, and increase the likelihood of miscalculations. In other words, US Central Command, which operates in this area, coordinates at least part of its operations in the Middle East through these very channels. How real is the threat from Iran right now? The fact is that even today, cable repair ships that are supposed to service these cables cannot enter the Strait of Hormuz. And the cables need to be serviced. If the cables are damaged, well, you understand that they could remain out of order until the end of the war. Can companies just not pay Iran? Say, yeah, we don't care. Yes, they can. And here's why they won't pay. First, they are under American sanctions and legally cannot make payments to Iran. I mean, it would be stupid if Google or Amazon paid the Iranians. Second, Iran is clearly trying to engage in piracy because the cables don't belong to them, they don't control them, and they can't have control over them. The Strait of Hormuz isn't theirs, the seabed isn't theirs, and so on. Third, the cables through the Strait of Hormuz account for less than 1% of the world's international traffic. So for the global internet itself, it's certainly not a catastrophe. Problems, yes, but not a catastrophe. But for the countries of the Persian Gulf, for India, and for part of Asia, these are critical routes. That's where it would be cut off. Here's an important quote from CNN. As fears grow that the war may resume after Trump returns from China, Iran is increasingly signaling that it has powerful tools at its disposal besides military force. But still, the problem is real. For the first time in history, both main sea routes are closed at the same time. For global data, that's the Red Sea, there are problems there. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz. 17 undersea cables pass through the Red Sea, carrying most of the traffic between Europe, Asia, and Africa. Additional cables for the Persian Gulf countries pass through the Strait of Hormuz. A break in both routes would be a globally devastating event, and economically devastating as well. And it's important to note that major players are already looking for a way out. For example, the company Meta has launched Project Water Wars. This is a new cable that's 50,000 kilometers long, which is ultimately intended to bypass the Middle East entirely, connecting the US, India, South Africa, and Brazil. These are future plans that will take years to realize. In addition, even after the war, tech companies will have to deal with a new headache in the Persian Gulf. These are the unexploded missiles and mines. In other words, even after the war, the consequences for the region's digital infrastructure will be felt for years. As a result, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz for oil. Now it threatens to close it for the internet as well. And this is no longer just, a military escalation. This is economic warfare on a whole new level, where the stakes are transactions worth literally trillions of dollars a day. And the most troubling thing is that Donald Trump apparently doesn't have an obvious answer to this move by Iran. I'll leave it at that. Your opinion, your conclusions. As usual, write them in the comments under this episode. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell. It's very important so you get notifications and don't miss new episodes. And subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechi iNews. The link to it is in the description of this video. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do it with any donation. Links and payment details are in this video's description. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.